Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest reports to come out on the impacts of Brexit from the Resolution Foundation. I'm going to cover a tiny little snippet of it as it highlights how we are all becoming poorer as a result. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I always think that when trying to explain something, especially something as complex as Brexit, it's a good idea to not only see the impact data, like you can say, Brexit's hurting our economy, you can show economic graphs and go, look, there it is. Fair enough. But an understanding of what caused it is really important, because seeing the link between cause and effect is incredibly powerful. And this is what I shall aim to do here. So the impact of Brexit is clear enough to those paying attention, like I've been chronicling it since it began. The political difficulty is that the government blamed the consequences on other things. And in part, the other factors, they're still factors. But the government and media try to claim that the issues, because we can blame this factor, though Brexit's got nothing to do with it, ignoring the fact you can have multiple factors affecting something. But consider why it is. Like, take the COVID pandemic, for example. So why has COVID hurt our economy? This is the question that doesn't get asked in the media. Why has it hurt our economy? Because it's meant lower productivity. When factories had to shut down for a while, or even when they started back up, but large numbers of workers are ill with the disease at any one time, the factory cannot pump out the products like it used to. Microchips has been a particular problem, massive problem. And these products are needed in other production facilities. So because you have a reduced output at one end of the supply chain, you reduce the productivity further down the line as well. All compounds the effect. So even if you've got a factory, it might be producing cars, for example, that may be up and running, and maybe their staff are all fit and healthy, doesn't matter because you can't get those components in. So your productivity is hit as well. It's the same issue with the war in Ukraine. It's reduced the ability of Ukraine to produce and export as easily as it could before. So the impact of both the war and the plague is that we have lower productivity globally, which means we have fewer products available. And because we're all linked into that global network, we are negatively impacted by it ourselves. And this should highlight two big Brexit lies. The first is that we could cut international trade ties and be fine. By trying to blame global events for our domestic performance, the government are exposing the fallacy of thinking that we could raise huge trade barriers with the EU and things would be all right. Oh, so you're saying that global factors can impact our domestic situation? Oh, right then. So why did you not think Brexit was going to do the same thing? Can't have it both ways. Second, the thing that connects both the pandemic and the war is that it caused a drop in productivity. Different reasons, same outcome. Well, Brexit has done this also. Our exports are more expensive, less reliable due to the delays now. And this isn't just to the EU, the rest of the world as well. The Brexiteers try to claim that we'll just sell more to the rest of the world. No, we won't. Not only does the rest of the world not have enough money, not only are we struggling to get the workers now because we've cut ourselves off from the European labour market, it costs too much to transport it. In fact, our rest of world trade has taken a massive hit recently. You must have noticed the price of fuel going up at an alarming rate. That's just for transporting you from your home to work and back. What do you think it's doing to the cost of shipping goods around the world? The costs are skyrocketing. We are more dependent on trade with the EU now because it's too expensive to be sending a load of things around the world. So if the reason Ukraine and COVID are hitting our economy is a lack of productivity, why can't people see that Brexit's going to do the same thing? And everyone knows it. Even organisations under a certain amount of government influence, like the Bank of England, explain that Brexit's a contributing factor to our economic problems. No one denies it. All that is unknown is to what extent. It's like, inflation's like 9% at the moment. It's going to get to 11%, they're saying. So what percentage is down to this and this factor? They don't quite know. That's the thing. Disentangling it all is tricky. And Brexiteers seize on this uncertainty as a suggestion, it might not be that much then. No, it's a massive factor. We know that. We just don't know to the nth degree. How do I know if I can't know the exact percentage? You compare yourself with comparable economies in Europe. That means Germany, France and Italy for the avoidance of doubt. They have COVID to deal with as well. They're also suffering from the impacts of war. Britain is not more sensitive to either of these global factors. In fact, according to the Brexiteers, Germany, France and Italy are being hurt more by them. Why? Because they're in the EU. That's what they say all the time, isn't it? Well, as bad as things are, at least we're free from the EU so we can make our own decisions. That gives us this dynamic agility, makes us better off. Oh, right then. So what you're saying is it'd be worse if we were still in the EU. So, by that logic, Germany, France and Italy are having a much worse time than we are from COVID and from the war. So why is their economy in better shape then? Lower inflation, higher growth. Why is that? Which brings me on to the Resolution Foundation report into Brexit, finally. It was referenced by Ian Black in PMQs yesterday. Read it through. Some interesting sections. I'm going to pick on a tiny little bit though, for the purpose of this video. The summary, the executive summary, it's right at the start actually. It points out that the overall impact of Brexit is to reduce households' incomes. That's actually the main thrust of the entire report, in fact, how it's reducing average household incomes, making you poorer. And this will be denied by the Brexit acolytes, but it's inevitable. It's already happened, in fact. Yeah, but COVID is the war. Yeah, but our incomes have taken a bigger hit than comparable economies. The evidence is already here. There's no speculation. But for some, we are actually going to have to suffer years of decline when there are no major global factors to blame before they'll finally accept it. So it's always better to see that link between cause and effect because it helps persuade people a little bit quicker. The summary explains that this lowering of incomes is down to three things: a weaker pound, lower investment and trade. A weaker pound means it costs us more to buy products from other countries. Granted, it also means we can export more cheaply. However, the weakness of the pound is not compensating for the extra costs of the red tape that we now have when selling abroad, or the extra costs of fuel when transporting around everywhere, Europe as well as the rest of the world. So we're still at a net disadvantage when exporting. If all other factors were the same, yes, a weaker pound means it's easy to export. But we've added on extra costs of export that have swamped that weaker pound benefit. And the imports cost more money. It's really that simple. And we are more reliant on imports because we're not produced. Our production is down, which means we have to import more. But we can't afford it because our pound's weaker. So we're going to have to get used to doing with less. So our standard of living will just go down. Simple. The lower investment is totally clear. Brexiteers crow whenever they hear about a company investing in Britain. Look, there's investment. Oh, over there, there's some investment, Phil. Look at it. As if they're calling out a Ramona lie. But the fags don't lie. Nobody said there would be no investment in Britain, just much less. This is a graph. You see a similar graph used for all forms of investment in the UK. It was used this week. This one shows UK business investment. The light blue line shows our trajectory in the years leading up to the Brexit referendum. After that referendum, it dropped off a cliff. It has never recovered. It will fluctuate, as it always does. Do not be fooled by a brief upturn. And bear in mind, you think to yourself, so why did it drop before we left the customs union single market? Because business, when they want to invest, they need to know that investment has to run through 5, 10, maybe 20 years. They've got a long-term plan with this. They need... After 2016, they didn't know what the market conditions would be like in Britain. It made Britain a very risky bet to invest in. So there was some investment, but we lost about half of it. You know, and you'll get every now and then there'll be the brief upturn. Oh, the investment's going up again. The overall pattern is one of permanent loss. Look at the graph. The Office for Budgetary Responsibility predicted that the extreme Tory Brexit would wipe 4% off our GDP. Every time they update this with the actual data, they say, yep, our prediction's still correct. And that the worst is still to come. They'll be alluding to the fact that Brexit hasn't even been completed yet. We still haven't got our trade borders up and running. The government like to talk about controlling our borders, but our borders are wide open right now. The OBR also said that this loss of investment means a loss of tax revenues equal to £40 billion a year. Now, sum of money, we don't know what that means. They make it clear. They said that is the equivalent of 6% of the basic rate income tax. So what that means is 6p in every pound that you are paying in the basic rate of income tax, which is all that most people pay, is going straight into that black hole in investment. In other words, if we had not suffered this loss of investment, if that had carried on as it was expected, the government could cut your basic rate of income tax, which is all most people pay, like I say, by 6%. And the government would have as much money as they do now. They wouldn't have to cut public services more than they already have done. Perhaps I should bring this up when the Tories cut income tax next year by 1p and expect a round of applause. Because if they hadn't forced Brexit on us, they could have cut it by an extra 6p with no impact on public spending. What do those supposedly low tax Tories think about that then? So we can not only see that we are getting poorer, but why we're getting poorer. The pound is weaker. It is 27% lower in value compared to when Labour were last in power. Now, much of this is Brexit, but it's always worth pointing out that even without Brexit, the Tories are a major factor in knackering our economy. A weaker pound means you have to spend more on the essentials because we largely import them. That reduces your effective income because you're shelling out more money. Investment in the UK is down. The data's clear. Lower investment means fewer well-paid jobs. Really that simple. This reduces the median income for the country. So it means the average person is making less money in real terms. And trade's more difficult. The red tape, delays at the ports, lack of workers to fill vacancies, and the rising cost of fuel are all taking their toll. If we can't sell as much, there's no need to produce as much. If you're not going to produce as much, well, you don't need as many workers. So more jobs lost, more incomes gone. Lower incomes for the rest as profits are squeezed. Better hope you've got some very valuable and rare skills because that's the only way you're making money in Brexit Britain. And it won't end until the madness ends. Because it's down to a major factor that people and certainly the government just aren't facing up to. The first step to solving a problem is facing up to it. And we're not going to even acknowledge it until the government is gone. You know, everyone has to stay quiet about it. Shh, don't mention the Brexit. Until they're gone, keep people calm. You know, don't ruffle the Brexiteer feathers. Wait till they're gone, then have to deal with it. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.